We almost swept OKC in the season, and we dominated them 3 times with their real team. And
I just want people to understand what he's saying. Before the playoffs have begun, OKC, I've kicked your.
The body of work that SGA has done, I don't want to turn away from it. How could we not give the award to him? So
the NBA MVP award is the most prestigious individual honor in basketball, and nobody can agree on what it actually means. And if you need evidence of that, look no further than the 2025-26 MVP race, because it's not just a close race, it's actually bizarre. You've got 4 players who all deserve it, and each one of them has a flaw in their case that would have disqualified them in a different era. And the wildest part about all this is 2 of them might literally be disqualified, not by voters, but by the NBA's own rules. So I'm going to make an argument for each and every one of these guys. I'm going to tell you who I think should win it, and we're going to expose the fact that the NBA has never had a consistent standard for this award. Not once. But before we get into it, I want you to take a moment and comment down below which player you think deserves to win NBA MVP. So tonight, 2 NBA MVP candidates are going to be facing off against one another. And honestly, I think this is a great opportunity for us to make some cash. I'm going to give you my plays for the OKC Thunder versus the Los Angeles Lakers. But first, to sign up for Prize Picks, make sure you use my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make a play of $5 or more. And then just tail this pick. Guys, maybe it's me being a Los Angeles Lakers homer, or maybe it's the fact that Luka Doncic is on a 40-point game streak over the last 3 games. I think Luka drops 40 tonight. I'm taking Luka's demon at over 39.5 points against the OKC Thunder. Now, you can take his regular line at 32 points if you don't want to be as crazy as me. And I'm pairing that with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander getting over 27.5 points because Marcus Smart is out tonight, so I expect Shai to also go off. I'm getting the $50 that you get from using my promo code to potentially make $225. And on top of that, if you guys want to check out a Discord server with expert picks to turn a profit on a weekly basis, check out the WAP links in the description down below. I've partnered with Fantasy Aces to get you guys the greatest possible edge on Prize Picks. And thank you, Prize Picks, for sponsoring today's video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Before we break down this year's candidates, I need you to understand one thing, and that's the fact that the NBA MVP award has been contradicting itself for decades. There is no rule book, there is no checklist. The criteria are not explicitly stated by the NBA. It's just 100 sports writers and broadcasting voting based on whatever they feel like that particular year. And that's led to some of the most baffling inconsistencies in sports. For example, in 2017, Russell Westbrook won the MVP on the 6th seeded OKC Thunder with a 47-35 record. When you take a look at what his ex-teammate did that year, James Harden, he averaged a near triple-double himself on better efficiency, led the Rockets to 55 wins and the 3rd seed, 8 games better, and he still lost the MVP award. The voters said individual greatness and the historic triple-double season matters more than team record. Okay, that makes sense, but the problem here is if you flash back to 2005 and 2006, when Steve Nash won back-to-back MVPs over guys like Shaq, who literally led the Heat to a title, and Kobe Bryant, who was averaging 35 points per game and dropped 81 points in a single game during that 2006 season. But then voters said that Steve Nash deserved it because his team record matters more. I mean, which one is it? Because you could make an argument that Russell Westbrook had the cooler story in 2017. He was betrayed by Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant got up and joined the Golden State Warriors. Russell Westbrook was calling him a cupcake and beefing with him. It was truly a cool story to see Russell Westbrook win the MVP that year. But at the same time, you could say that Kobe Bryant was trying to get revenge after Shaq and him broke up 2 years prior. And that was a cool story as well. So which one is it? Does your team record matter or doesn't it matter? Because the MVP has used both arguments to justify different winners. And that hypocrisy is the lens that you need to look through when we talk about the 4 main guys this year. It gets even worse. Since 1976, only 3 players have won MVP on a team that didn't win 50 games. Moses Malone did it twice, Russell Westbrook did it once, and Jokic did it in 2022. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar won it in 1976 on a team that didn't even make the playoffs. So there's precedent for literally anything. Keep all this in your head because it's going to be very important later on. Let's talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. On paper, this dude is the obvious choice. Shai is averaging 31.4 points, 6.6 assists and 4.4 rebounds per game while shooting an absurd 55% from the field. The man is a guard. He's doing this on a Thunder team that sits at 59-16, the best record in the entire NBA by a comfortable margin. Oklahoma City has the league's best defensive rating, the best net rating at +11, and they just won a championship last year with this same exact core. SGA is the reigning MVP. He's the engine of a machine that is running over the league right now. And the historic stuff is insane. On March 9th, Shai broke Wilt Chamberlain's 63-year-old record for consecutive games with 20 or more points. Wilt set that record in the early 1960s. We're talking about an era when players were literally milkmen and firefighters by day and playing basketball at night. And Shai blew past that record and now sits at 130 consecutive games of 20+ points. This is a stat that was supposed to stand forever. On top of that, back in January, he put up 40 points, 11 assists, and 7 rebounds on 16 of 19 shooting against the Bucks, and joined Wilt as the only player in NBA history to post a 40, 10, and 5 game on 80% shooting. He's casually making history every few weeks and nobody blinks because we've gotten so used to it. So what's the problem here? Well, there's a ticking clock. SGA missed almost the entire month of February with an ab strain. He played 62 games, and with the glorious 65 game minimum rule in place, which we made a video on previously if you guys don't know about that rule, he can only miss a handful of more games and still be in contention for the MVP. If he misses too many down the stretch, none of this matters. The reigning MVP could be literally disqualified from defending his own award because of a rule the NBA created to stop load management. And that would be one of the cruelest ironies in the history of the league. But assuming Shai stays healthy and hits the threshold, and he should, he's only got to play in a few more games. His case is the most traditional MVP case in the field. He's the best player on the best team. He's the reigning MVP. He has historic individual numbers, and that's supposed to be the formula. That's how Steve Nash won it. That's how Steph Curry won it, and that's how Giannis won it twice. If the voters are being consistent, and that's a huge if, SGA should be the pick. And then there's the alien from France, who is listed as 7'4", but bro, this guy looks like he's 7'6" at the very least. Victor Wembanyama recently took over the #1 spot on NBA.com's MVP ladder and might be rewriting what we think this award should look like. Wemby is averaging 24.2 points, 11.3 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. The scoring isn't as high as SGA or Luka, and we're gonna get to that because this is where the conversation gets really interesting. But first, let's take a look at what he's doing on the defensive end. Wemby leads the league in blocks. He's averaging 4.3 blocks per game over his last 11 games. He put up 38 points, 16 rebounds, and 5 blocks against the first place Detroit Pistons. He had 19 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 blocks in 27 minutes against Memphis. He's the runaway favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, and he's also making an MVP case at the same time. The last time we saw that was when Giannis did it in 2020 when he won both. But even then, Giannis was putting up 30 points per game, and Wemby is doing this at 24 points per game. So why did Wemby recently rocket up the MVP rankings? Well, this is all as a result of what happened a week ago. On March 24th, the Miami Heat took on the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs blew out Miami 136-111, and a reporter asked Wemby to lay out his MVP case, and the man didn't dodge it. He didn't give some generic answer. This man literally convinced voters why he deserves to be #1 in MVP rankings. Wemby gave 3 bullet points as to why he deserved MVP.
Defense is 50% of the game, and that it is undervalued so far in the MVP race.
Wemby said that he is the most impactful defensive player in the league. His second argument was that the Spurs have gone 4-1 against the OKC Thunder this season, the best team in basketball, and dominated them in most of those games.
We almost swept OKC in the season, and we dominated them 3 times with their real team and 4 times with the more rotation players.
And his final point was that offensive impact isn't just about points. Playmaking, gravity, and the shots you create for others, Wemby does all of it.
Offense impact is not just points.
This sent shockwaves throughout the NBA. I mean, look at Draymond Green's reaction.
I hated it, and I absolutely loved it.
Dre loved it because Wemby was smart enough to advocate for himself instead of waiting for voters to figure it out. But he hated it because he said it's an indictment on basketball that a player had to remind people that defense is half of the game.
The reason I hated it is because until Wemby said defense is 50% of the game, it was like, oh man, no one realized that, right? Like no one realized that 50% of the game we play is on that end of the floor.
And I honestly can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Draymond Green is right. Because how many times have we had a conversation about MVP and just completely ignored what a guy does on the defensive end? It happens every single year. Stephen A. Smith fired back and said Draymond was projecting his own feelings about being underappreciated.
But can we really keep it a buck and talk about why Draymond Green said what he said? Draymond Green is somebody that at times feels underappreciated. Do y'all know that Draymond Green is in his 8th consecutive year where he hasn't even averaged double digits in points? And we call him a Hall of Famer, a future Hall of Famer. There's some feelings there. As an elite defensive player who was a top 3 candidate for Defensive Player of the Year in this league on at least 3 or 4 occasions, that's who Draymond Green is, and that's who the individual that was talking. The problem that he has is, you know what, the lack of recognition for those who prioritize defense.
And you know what? Maybe there's some truth there too. But the larger point is real. The MVP has always been an offensive award in disguise, and Wemby is challenging that. Now, the Spurs are sitting at 56-18. They're second in the West, and Wemby has been on a tear lately. 28.4 points, 11.3 rebounds per game over his last 10 games, going undefeated in that stretch. If he does win MVP this season, he'd be only the second 22-year-old to do it after Derrick Rose. The man is in his 3rd NBA season. He'd be only the 3rd Spur to win it, joining David Robinson and Tim Duncan. And unlike Derrick Rose, whose career was derailed by injuries, Wemby looks like he could win this thing multiple times. The question is whether the voters are ready to give it to him now when his scoring average is lower than everybody else in the top 4. History says that they probably aren't. But then again, history with the MVP award has been very inconsistent. Okay, so now we get to the most tragic MVP case in recent NBA history. Because if we're being completely honest about it, on pure basketball production alone, Nikola Jokic might be having the best season out of anyone in the NBA, and he might not even be eligible to win this award. Before his hyperextended knee on December 29th against the Heat, Jokic was putting up 29.6 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 11 assists through 32 games. He was averaging a triple-double, joining only Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook as the only players to ever do that for a full season. His PER was a 36.05, the highest in NBA history. His box plus minus was 16.47, also the highest ever. He was on pace for the first 60-40-80 shooting season in NBA history. This is a season that historically has never been matched by another player in NBA history. Not Michael Jordan, not LeBron James, not Kobe Bryant, not Wilt Chamberlain, nobody. But Jokic missed 16 games with that knee injury and came back on January 30th. He would immediately drop 31 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists in under 25 minutes, becoming the first player in NBA history to do that in so few minutes. And since then, the numbers have stayed absurd. In his last few games alone, he's put up 23 points, 21 rebounds, and 19 assists against Dallas, a near 20-20-20 game. He then followed that with an absurd 33 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 assists against Utah on 13 of 16 shooting. The man now has over 195 regular season triple doubles, having passed Oscar Robertson for second all time. But the 65 game rule is hanging over everything. Joker can only miss one more game for the rest of the season. If he tweaks anything, if he needs a rest day, if he gets a stomach bug, it's over. His MVP candidacy is gone, and the Denver Nuggets know this. They're sitting at 48-28, which in a normal year would be a fine record. But with OKC and San Antonio out there running away with the West, Denver is fighting for positioning, not dominance, and that matters in MVP voting. The Nuggets don't have the best record. They're not even the second best, and Jokic has a built-in excuse for voters to pass on him between the games missed and the team standing. But the number one thing that is working against Nikola Jokic the most is voter fatigue. It stole an MVP away from him in 2023 when Joel Embiid won the MVP over Jokic, and judging by the fact that this man has been ducking Nikola Jokic for the past 4 years, ever since winning the award, I think we could all agree that that year should have went to Jokic. The man is a 3-time winner. This is a guy who is without a doubt the best player in basketball for the past half decade by every conceivable advanced metric that you look at. If the 65 game rule costs him a 4th MVP in a season where he's putting up the most efficient numbers in the history of the sport, this rule needs to be seriously examined, because it was designed to stop healthy players from sitting out nationally televised games, not to punish a guy who had his knee buckle on a freak play. And now we get to one of the most fascinating MVP cases that we've seen in recent NBA history. Luka Doncic is currently leading the entire NBA in scoring. He recently dropped 60 points against the Miami Heat.
Sí, ojalá, pero mejor que juegue, voy más para abajo en el rating, así que no sé lo que puedo hacer más.
Luka is averaging 33.7 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 8.2 assists per game for the Los Angeles Lakers. He is certainly going to win the scoring title for the second time in 3 years. He's doing it on a team that's gone 48-26, sitting third in the Western Conference, and he's getting hot at the right time. The Lakers recently had a 9-game winning streak that included that 60-point eruption in Miami. This is the first 60-point game by a Laker since Kobe Bryant's final game 10 years ago. And the night before that 60-point game, Luka put up 40. That's 100 points in 24 hours. Do you know how crazy that is? And Luka has been in this exact same situation before. He's been a top 3 MVP candidate for 4 straight seasons now, and he's never won the thing. Now, the NBA's rationalization for this is
the timing has just been terrible.
Luka came up at the exact moment when Jokic and SGA were both in their primes, and now Wemby is entering the chat too. 4 MVPs between those two guys, and Luka has been stuck looking up at them while putting up numbers that in almost any other era would have won him the award already. It's like being the 4th best player in history's most stacked generation. Now, here's the knock on Luka. His team is not the best team. 48-26 is great, but it's not 59-16 like OKC, and it's not 56-18 like San Antonio. Luka leads the league in turnovers. He just picked up his 16th technical foul. The technical fouls, the turnovers, the body language stuff, this all follows him. And in a race this tight, voters are going to use these tiny little nuances to separate all these guys. It's not always fair, but it's just simply how it works. If you're going to be the scoring champion on a team that's seated behind SGA's team and Wemby's team, you better be squeaky clean everywhere else, and Luka just simply isn't. But let me say this in his defense. History does suggest that the scoring champion on a team seated 3rd or higher usually wins MVP. That's been the pattern, and Luka is doing things right now that only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain have ever done. The man scored 40 plus points in each of his first 3 games this season, joining Wilt as the only player to ever start a season like that. He's joined Magic Johnson, Elgin Baylor, and Jerry West as the only players to ever record a 40-point triple-double in Lakers franchise history. This isn't just a good season. This is probably one of the greatest offensive seasons we've ever seen. And the problem is, it just might not be enough. All right, so I told you I was going to give you a definitive answer as to who should win the award, and here it is. And this isn't based off of my own bias. This isn't based off of who I want to win the award. This is based off of what I've seen from NBA history and who I think is going to win the award. Based on what we've seen in the past, the precedents, the patterns, the way voters have historically weighted this award, the MVP this year should be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I'm saying that while fully acknowledging that you can build an argument for every single player on this list. Here's my reasoning. When the MVP has gone to the best player on the best team, it has almost never been wrong. Larry Bird had the best record and won 3 straight. Magic Johnson had the best record and won. Steph Curry had the best record and won unanimously. Giannis had the best or the second best record both times, and he won. SGA won last year on the best team and backed it up with a championship. And right now, OKC is 59-16. That is the best record in basketball. It's not even close. SGA is their entire identity on both ends. 31 points, 6 assists, playing elite defense, breaking Wilt's records. If you told voters in any other year that the reigning MVP and champion is putting up 31 a night on 55% shooting with the best record in the league, it would be unanimous. Now, the counter argument is this is counterproductive to what the definition of MVP should be. And I know all of my subscribers are brilliant when it comes to making arguments about the NBA, and I know I'm going to see a comment in the comment section that says,
"But Mike, the Thunder are 8-4 without SGA, so technically he is not the most valuable player because the Thunder would be okay without SGA."
And that's a very valid argument, but unfortunately, that's not how the NBA measures what an MVP is. Let's just call it what it is. This award is typically given to the best player having the best offensive season on the best team, and the only way you can overpower that is if you have some remarkable storyline happening for you, whether it's Russell Westbrook's revenge revenge triple-double season on a 6-seeded OKC team right after Kevin Durant left to the Golden State Warriors, or Derrick Rose surprising everybody during the 2011 season in a year that, let's be honest, that award should have gone to LeBron James. The only reason this is not unanimous is because Victor Wembanyama exists, and honestly, if the voters choose Wemby, I wouldn't be mad. A guy who's the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year, the second best record in the West, 4-1 against the best team in basketball, averaging 24, 11, and 3 blocks while going 10-0 in his last 10 games. That's a real case. Wemby's argument that defense is half the game is not just catchy, it's correct. And the fact that he had to say it out loud for people to take it seriously is exactly the kind of thing that makes you question whether MVP voters actually watch basketball or just look at the stat sheet while they're playing solitaire. The day we start valuing defense equally in this award is the day that Victor Wembanyama wins multiple MVPs. It just might not be this year. The main reason for that could also be that voters are expecting Wemby's game to take a huge jump next year, and this is not going to be his best statistical season. This is not going to be the most dominant that the Spurs are going to be in the Victor Wembanyama era. And I'm assuming as a result of that, they're going to save the year that he wins MVP, even though that sounds utterly ridiculous. If Jokic plays 65 games and if Denver was the 1 seed, he'd have a legitimate shot at a 4th MVP. But the games missed and the team record make it nearly impossible. The fact that he's won multiple MVPs in years past also means that there's going to be voter fatigue and voters are just not going to vote for him again. And Luka, he's the scoring champion. He's having a legendary season, and he might go his entire prime without winning an MVP because the 3 guys ahead of him are all doing historically great things at the exact same time. This is not a knock on Luka, this is just the cruelest possible luck. And that brings us full circle. The MVP award has never been consistent. It rewards record when it wants to, and it ignores it when a better story comes along. It rewards scoring when it feels like it, and it punishes scoring when the defensive guy makes a louder argument. It rewards narrative one year and it punishes it the next. And this year, all 4 of these guys have a case. All 4 of them have a fatal flaw. The only certainty here is that whoever wins, somebody certainly got robbed. Now I want to hear your case in the comment section down below as to who should win NBA MVP this year. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.